Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Flight Deck Captain Wilson speaking. Firstly, on behalf of our crew, I'd like to welcome you on board this Flawless 195 World Tour service from Podgorica to Sarajevo. This is Flight 025 of 209. If this is your first flight with us today, then we do advise that you watch the route explainer video before you take to your seats. However, if you are a returning viewer, then we do recommend that you subscribe to the channel before departing the aircraft today. We should be clear to taxi out in the next few minutes for a departure time of 12:55 p.m. And total flight time is expected to be 15 to 20 minutes. So again, just like last night, a little up and down. I'm not going to use the ILS because that was sending me in a loop and coming in from the north where we're approaching from the south. So I'm just going to judge it myself, take manual control of the plane upon the descent, and we'll find our way in. We're in daylight, so we've got half a chance. But we are heading northwest from Podgorica to Sarajevo. I'll now begin our in-flight entertainment, which will be the music of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Although please do be aware it will be switched off during takeoff and landing. With that being said, if you do have any questions regarding the Flawless 195 World Tour, then please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the section below. And finally, I'd just like to say thank you for choosing Flawless 195 today. It's a pleasure to have you on board. Thank you and enjoy the flight. Now, what I will do, this is Flight 25. I've just been getting on with sorting the aircraft out for departure without saying anything or put some music on. I'll talk you through it. I'll talk you through it today. Exactly what I'm pressing, what I'm doing to get the plane up and running for taxi out. So yeah, let's go through it. I thought, why not? It's about time. It's daylight. Got nice mountains in the background. But yeah, let's go through how we set the airplane up for departure in Podgorica. Right, let's do this. So first things first, we come up to the panel above. And we go and switch the batteries on. So battery 1, battery 2, and then external power. Now, in the smaller airports, it doesn't even have external power, but this one does, so we put external power on. Then what I do, this is not necessarily the correct order, but these are all the necessary things that you need to do. So then what I'll do, then I'll set the altitude. Now, if the flight's over 40 minutes, then you're going to be going up to cruising altitude of like 38 or 39,000 feet. But in this case, what I'll do is I'll put it to 20. We probably won't get as high as 20, but I'll set it to 20 anyway. Then we set the speed at 250. So the plane, whilst we're climbing, the plane will level at 250 mile an hour, 250 knots, sorry. So we set the plane to 250 knots for the climb. That goes up to 259 knots once we're cruising. So yes, so we set that at 250. I then put flight director on, which is the bank of the airplane. Then we go and do the no smoking, seatbelts on. I'll then switch on the APU. Now, for some reason, this always takes 3 presses of the button to start it up. 1, doesn't like it. 2, doesn't like it. On the 3rd attempt, it'll stick. Now we get the lights on. So because we're in the daytime, I don't need the wing lights on, so we'll put nav lights on. Put beacon. I don't know if this is accurate to real life, but I always just do these 3. If it's at night, I'll put the wing lights on as well. It's probably, you know, if anyone's a serious flight sim nerd, they're probably cringing at some of this. But whatever, it's what I do. I then go down here. Now, this is just an old habit. I never actually look at this screen, but I always put it on flight plan there. I never actually quote this. I never actually look at this because I set the flight plan up beforehand, so I don't have to. Now, you can come into this whole keypad and set the flight up from here. Listen, I'm in depth, I'm realistic. I ain't this realistic. I set it all up beforehand. I have this to look at if I need to. Maybe on the longer flights, I'll have a look. It sort of tells you what altitude you should be at a certain point. Maybe in the longer flights, I'll have a look at that. It sort of give you an indication of how far you've got to go as well, in terms of like how many miles to get to such a point, and how many miles to get. So on a lengthier flight, this might be something that I'll look at. On the shorter flights, I don't look at it, but I always just click on flight plan anyway, just so it's on the screen, just out of habit. I then turn the brightness up on these screens here, which at night it makes a difference. In the day it doesn't really, but it's just something that I've always done. Then we'll come back up. By this time this will be green lit saying available, so we'll go ahead and hit APU bleed. We can then switch off the external power if it was on, if we have external power in the airport. Then fuel pumps, all 6 of them. So fuel pumps on. Then we come down to start the engine, so we go to ignition start, engine 1, engine 2, and then we look at this screen here. Now I'm looking at the top left and top right for the engine spooling up, and once it gets to 1.0 on both sides, so you can see it should start going 0.1 now, and then on the right 0.1. Now once they spool to like 1.0, they've started, you know, the momentum's gaining, they're spooling up, so that's enough. We're at 1.0, we can then switch the ignition off. I then set the flaps to 1, because I'm already down here, I'm already looking at this panel, so now's a good time to do it. And that's about it. I then come up here and put the lights to taxi, and make sure that I'm looking out the window, because I might need to flick back to this view in a bit. So then we make sure the camera's set in the right position. Make sure that this VFR map is way zoomed in, especially on the smaller runways, so that I can figure out a route to taxi out. So that's all set, and then we can come to the external view. Now I'm waiting for the engines to show 20%, which they are doing now, which is basically idle, so they've spooled up to idle, at which point I can then initiate reverse. I don't do any pushback situations. I mean, there's not one here, but sometimes there's a pushback thing. Now that can glitch out and it can be weird, so I don't even bother with that. I just back it up, mate. I back it up, so we're going full reverse, take the parking brake off, which I've got set as a button on the pad. Some things that you use often, and some things that you need, I've got set to buttons on the pad, so I don't need to do it within the aircraft. Like for example, landing gear up and down, I've got set to a button. The flaps up and down, I've got set to a button, so I don't need to actually, for the things that you need to do quickly and often, I don't have to go into this cockpit view and do it. Like, I'm not going in this cockpit view and doing landing gear up, for example. I'm not doing in this cockpit view and messing about with the flaps, only the initial one that I just did. Also, one thing that I don't use that I should use, but I'd sort of just use the reverse thrust, is the air brake. Now, I never use that. I do have a button set up on the pad for the air brake when we land, but I never actually use it. Maybe in a runway that's really short, that's more necessary, but I do tend to get it down, and with reverse thrust and the brakes, we seem to come to a 50 knots or whatever, 30 knots pretty quickly, probably quicker than reality, to be honest. So I don't actually use the air brakes, which is a bit of a red flag. But anyway, we've backed out, so once we're backed out, I then set the throttle. You see where the needle is at about 20% thrust. I'll sort of aim for that. See there, I aim for that needle there, and that sort of sets us off at a nice gentle pace. It then becomes too quick and I have to back off the power a little bit, but putting it at like 20% thrust just sets us going. I then put on the safety announcement, which is here. Make sure.
Pay attention to illuminated signs and crew instructions, including the following safety procedures.
So we'll just taxi to the hold shot.
The safety card found in your seat pocket contains important information like exit routes, oxygen masks, life jackets, and the brace position, which you must adopt if you hear brace brace. There are 8 emergency exits on this aircraft. The cabin crew are now pointing out the exits.
Then once we're
Please be aware that your nearest usable exit may
got a
be
straight run,
behind.
I'll just test that the
Emergency lighting
ailerons,
will guide you to an
if that's how you
exit.
say it, are working. You can see if I go really shallow down here with the camera, you can see the flaps coming up as I
And released.
just make sure all the flaps are working and everything.
When the seatbelt signs are
In the
on,
past I have gone like full flaps out and then back again. I don't tend to do this because sometimes I'll forget to put the flaps. So it's flaps at 1 for takeoff. I'll back off on the power while we're sprinting down this taxiway. But yeah, just thought I'd take you through how I sort of prepare the plane for takeoff. Now when we reach the hold shot, so I'm talking over this.
Take a life jacket from under your seat. Remove from the couch and put it over your head. Pass the tapes around your waist and clip it together. Pull the strap to adjust. Do not inflate it inside the aircraft. When outside, inflate it by pulling the toggle. If it fails to inflate or needs topping up, blow into this tube. There is a light and whistle for attracting attention. The cabin crew can assist you with life jackets for children. Your tray table must now be stowed, armrests down, window blinds open, and seatbelt fastened. Further information regarding your safety on board can be found in the in-flight magazine. We hope you
Just get on the brakes here for the corner. So right, so we come round here. So there's music going to kick in here. I need to just cancel that. Right. So we come to the hold shot here. Now what should happen is, as I stop at the hold shot, it should kick in and automatically ask for permission for takeoff. Do we get that? We do. Sometimes this doesn't happen and you have to go into this menu here. You have to click on ATC and you can tune into the tower and manually ask for permission to take off. We have had a couple of occasions where that option's not even been on the screen and we just take off without permission. But as we can see, we've got permission to take off now. So a couple more things before we actually do take off. We'll go for the lights again. We can put them in, put the lights on takeoff. Landing lights on. What else? I'll then zoom out on the map to just to see, you know, I'll go to 10 is it new meters? I don't know. Anyway, I go to 10 meters out, so zoom out a little bit on the map so I can see generally where I'm heading upon taking off. I'll then make sure the camera's set up in the right position. We then go cabin crew seats for takeoff, and then we go into this view. I always, weirdly, you know, if a flight sim enthusiast probably watch this scene, why is he taking off and landing from this view, from the external view? I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that. It's just what I've always done and it's just what I'm comfortable with. Is it realistic? No. Is it what you should be doing? No. But it's what I've always done. I've always taken off. I don't know, I feel like I sort of should enjoy the view in a weird way from the external camera. I don't know why. I feel like you get more of an experience. It's just what I've always done. I've always taken off from this view. No, I could take off from inside the cockpit like this. I could be in the cockpit for the entire time if I wanted to be full realistic nerd mode. But I don't want to. I like taking off from this view. I do until I get the autopilot on at 10,000 feet. I like being in this view. And then also to land as well. Once we get to 1,000 feet and I take the autopilot off for landing, I then come to the external view and land it like that, which is probably easier. I could do it, but I wouldn't really like landing in this point of view. You can't really tell. Well, you could do it with a bit of practice. I'd be fine, but I've just always landed from this point of view. I can sort of see the landing gear and sort of when you pull up 10 feet from the runway, it's sort of easy to judge from this point of view. Listen, it's not it's not the realistic way to do it, but it's how I've always done it and how I will continue to do it. So yeah, we are now ready for departure. So again, take the parking brake off, just up the throttle slightly just to get us going. Yeah, I thought I'd take you through it this afternoon. Why not? You know, maybe should have done this on the first flight, but anyway, 25 flights in. We'll get a bit of a talk through of what we're doing. So we'll now line her up in the centre of the runway, or as close to the centre as we can get. Like that, and then we're going to get the brakes on there. Parking brake on. Have one last look, make sure everything's all right, and make sure the altitude set, speed set, you know, map's all right. Okay, so then we'll take parking brake off. I then tend to go to about half power, like that, just to make sure if we've got any severe wind, I might need to make adjustments with the rudder a little bit. But we're all okay. So we'll go full power. Now what we're looking for in terms of speed is about 150 knots. I know in reality V1 is about 130. That's when you've got to take off. But yeah, we take off at about 150. So we're coming up to that now. It's a short runway here, isn't it, in Podgorica? So about now we'll start to pull up, and as soon as we're sort of clear, as soon as we've got positive climb, we'll get the landing gear in, which I've got set to a button. I don't have to come into the cockpit. Now what I've realised in reality is they keep the flaps at 1 for quite a while. Now this is keeping the plane at about 200 knots, so I tend to get the flaps in at 0 about now. In reality they keep the flaps at 1 for the first few minutes. And then looking at the route, so I'm manually flying the plane here, so I'll try and keep it on the flight path. So I'm going to manually turn. Now I'm looking for the airspeed to be about 250, which is what I've set it at. Once the autopilot kicks in, it will get me to 250. Now I don't want a massive deviation when I put the autopilot on, so I'll try and keep it at 250. Now if we're going too fast, I'll put the nose up. If we're going too slow, I'll put the nose down. And also we're looking at the altitude as well for 10,000 feet. So we're looking at the speed and the altitude, glancing from one to the other, making sure as well we're on the roughly on the, it doesn't have to be bang on, but roughly on the flight path as well. And yeah, so speed's about right. Okay, we're 8 knots too fast. It's not the end of the world. It's about right, that. And as we come up, we're obviously all the movements as well, and trying to be as smooth as possible. There's little bits of turbulence. Little bits of turbulence, but it's fine. At 7,000 feet now, speed's coming down a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll just dip the nose slightly, like that. Come around a bit to the right as well, sort of going off the flight path here. So yeah, I'll dip the nose down a little bit, come to the right a little bit. And we're looking for 10,000 feet. That's when I'll kick the autopilot in. Now, it does tend to swerve quite violently when I kick the autopilot in. No matter what I do, no matter if I'm turning left, it'll swerve right. If I'm turning right, it'll swerve left. It just is what it is. So we exchange over to autopilot right about now. Oh, that was actually a smooth transition for once. There you go. Well, see, swerving a little bit now. Yeah, big swerve. But seatbelt signs are on, so we're all right. So now we come inside, and because we're above 10,000 feet now, I can switch these lights off. So switch those off, switch landing lights off. I'll then do a couple more things. So I'll now go back on the throttle. This does absolutely nothing except for set me up for when we're leveling out. We sort of just get the throttle into that notch there at 95% throttle, whatever. It does nothing, but it's for when. Once we get up to cruising altitude, I have to set the throttles back again. So it just means that I don't have to go through 2 notches. I only got to do through 1. I then zoom out on this map to about 100 usually. Now this is a short flight, so we can't see the final destination yet. I'll then come to this map, which is even more important. This is really just press the wrong button. I steered the plane instead of doing this. But then I'll go to 100 on this. Now you can see we're 80 miles out from the destination, so we don't want to be any higher than about 25,000 feet even at this point. We're still climbing, so it's not an issue. So what I will do actually, because the destination's so close, is we'll go to 80 and figure it out from there. So yeah, we are about 80 miles out from the destination, just trying to do some maths in my head. See where that D cell is in the middle there? I want to be at about 19,000 feet at that point there. So what I'll do is I can come up to about 25,000 feet actually on this. So I'll set the plane for 24, okay, that'll do. Set the plane for 24,000 feet, because we should be able to get up to about that and then start coming down, maybe. It might be a bit ambitious actually. Might as well talk you through the entire flight. We're already halfway there, you know what I mean? So yeah, we might have one song. I'll tell you what, we'll have one Bosnian song on the in a minute. So yeah, we're coming up past 19,000 feet. Probably go, because it's only a short flight. In fact, 24 might be a bit pushing it, because we want to be at 90, back down to 19,000 feet by the time you're 50 miles out. So let me try and judge this. These shorter flights are harder to judge. If the flight is 40 minutes or more, we can come all the way up to 39,000 feet and then level out and then come back down, and it's pretty straightforward. But if the flight's under 40 minutes, it starts to become, well, for me, you know, there's probably, well, there'd be definitely more certain ways to do it, but for me, I just judge it based on experience. And so yeah, it's not bad actually. 24 is not too bad, as long as we come straight down. As soon as we get to 24,000 feet, we then set the speed at 259. I always descend at 259. It's just what I'm used to. It's the 259 knots is based on, that's as fast as you can go at 39,000 feet without getting over speed. So 259 knots is flat out at 39,000 feet. Now that's not the ground speed. The ground speed's like 500 knots, but airspeed 259 knots at 39,000 feet is flat out. 260, you start getting warnings that you're going too fast. So 259 is as fast as you can go. So by default, I've always started the descent going 259. Now the faster the descent, the faster you're going in terms of airspeed when you start the descent, the faster you'll descend. And obviously the slower your airspeed, the slower you'll descend. So I'm always used to the fact that if you descend at 259 knots, it works out, all my maths works out in terms of starting the descent at 100 miles out, and everything just, the dots just line up with that. That's just how I've done it. So now the plane's going to be increasing in speed because we've reached the altitude. So that now we come back on the throttles, and I'll immediately initiate the descent down to 7,000 feet. It's all a bit, you know, usually these things are spread way apart. You might be cruising for half an hour before you're doing this, but it's all the inputs are all happening all at once. So yeah, we are about 60 miles out now. So at 50 miles out, we want to be about 19,000 feet. So it's not looking bad. It's looking a bit mountainous though, is what I'm slightly concerned about, but I'm not worried yet. Then because we're so already well on our way and approaching destination, I'll then have a look on this map at our route in. Now because I haven't sorted out an approach, I've just gone direct with the approach rather than figuring out some sort of holding pattern at ILS situation. It's just a dead straight line in. So obviously once we get to about here, I'm going to deviate out to the left, manually take control of the plane at about here, manually come out to about there, and then in, because I'm pretty sure this runway, let me just have a look at this actually, you can zoom right in and have a look at the orientation of the runway.
Descend and maintain 7,400 feet, flawless 195.
I think it is pretty much. Is it not showing us? It's not showing us. I'm pretty sure the runway is facing north to south like this. So coming at it from a 45-degree angle is going to be weird. So I'm going to sort of head out to where it says Todney there, and then come in like this. Well, that'll miss the out, but you get the idea. You get the idea. So everything's happening in fast forward here. See, look at this. Actually, it's not too bad. Let me just. Right, where's the plane? Plane will be coming into view any second now on that map. So I've actually judged it quite well. Look at that, we're about 50 miles out, 19,000 feet. So we're on course. I am slightly worried about this situation. God, it looks mountainous. Anyway, we'll have a look. When the plane comes into view on the map, on the VFR map, I'll then have a look at taking manual control, getting autopilot off. I'd only do this on these short flights like this, taking manual control and just inventing my own route in is something that I'm only going to do on these 15 to 20 minute flights, you know, especially over these mountains as well. I did it last night. I've done it 2 or 3 times. I came in way too shallow a couple of flights ago as well. The flight that I had to mute because of the music got copyrighted. Where was that into? I forget now. Into Tirana, Albania. That was it. Into Albania, I totally freeballed it. I came in way too shallow, but we got it down on the ground. Right, so let's have. What? Whoa. Whoa, okay. Can you still hear me or what? PC just glitched out. Whoa, I don't know.
Descend and maintain 5,700 feet, flawless 195.
Flawless 195, descend and maintain 6,800 feet.
Descend and maintain 6,800 feet, flawless 195.
Flawless 195, descend and maintain 6,100 feet.
Descend and maintain 6,100 feet, flawless 195.
Flawless 195, descend and maintain 6,700 feet.
Descend and maintain 6,700 feet, flawless 195.
Flawless 195, descend and maintain 6,100 feet.
Descend and maintain 6,100 feet, flawless 195.
1905, contact Sarajevo, approach on 136.45. Good day.
136.45 flawless 1905. Goodbye. Sarajevo approach flawless 1905 is at 8,900 feet, descending 6,100 feet.
Flawless 1905 Sarajevo, approach altimeter 29.99 radar contact. Continue.
Descend and maintain 6,700 feet, flawless 1905. Flawless 1905, runway in sight.
Flawless 1905, you are 13 miles south of Sarajevo. Turn right heading 350, descend and maintain 3,700 feet. Contact Sarajevo Tower on 118.25.
Turn right heading 350, descend and maintain 3,700 feet. Tower on 118.25, flawless 1905. Sarajevo Tower, flawless 1905, 11 miles south inbound, visual runway 29er approach.
Flawless 1905 Sarajevo Tower. Altimeter 30.00, wind 335 at 7. Cleared visual runway 29er approach.
Cleared visual runway 29er approach, flawless 1905.
Flawless 1905, wind 335 at 7. Cleared to land runway 29er.
Cleared to land runway 29er, flawless 1905. 1.9er flawless 19er fight.
Već dugo nema od tebe ni slova, ni riječi, al nisam ni ja ništa bolji, priznajem. Duboka rana je to da vrijeme je liječi, za nju mi još jedan život nedostaje. Samo da znaš da nikad mi neće bit svejedno, zadrhtim svaki put kad neko za tebe pita. Nekad smo bili kao jedno, a sad smo dva svijeta različita. Šta se to desilo s nama, nikad rekla mi nije.